So, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Rod Mathews. Have you ever hired someone who, on paper, looked like they could walk on water, and when you got them on the job, they struggled to tie their own shoelaces? Anybody? Yeah? I do. Or have you ever hired someone only to find that 6 months later they are causing so many problems in your business that you were seriously wondering if they've been sent by your competitors to sabotage your business from the inside? Yes, I remember that as well. Or perhaps you found yourself cursing with frustration because someone has just handed in their resignation and now you have to cover the extra workload and spend an inordinate amount of time and cash trying to find a replacement. This morning we are lucky enough to have Rod Mathews to take us through how to reduce the stress and frustration associated with finding the right person for the right job with a minimum of fuss. Rod has helped many businesses reduce their costs associated with hiring people, including the Sydney Opera House, AO and Insurance, and Atlas Copco. He is often called upon to train professional recruiters and search for consultants. Rod has a proven track record for over 20 years in increasing engagement and productivity within organisations whilst reducing wasted effort, and is fast developing a reputation nationally and internationally as a leading expert on change in human performance. His clients span a broad range of industries and include Austar Entertainment, the National Breast Cancer Foundation, Roche Products, the Royal Flying Doctor Service, Santos, Standards Australia, the University of New England, and Westmead Hospital. So that's a very impressive list of names. Rod is a voracious reader of many books and an author of 5 books. His experience, enthusiasm, and natural curiosity have helped him to build an encyclopedic knowledge of tips, tools, and techniques. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stand up and put your hands together for Mr. Rod Mathews.
All right. Oh, there you go. Standing ovation. I haven't even started. Thank you very much. Good on you. See you later. Rod, champion. Is it on? Are we on? Earth to Rod. Earth to Rod. Is it on? It should be on. There's only one.
I can't hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, plug it in. That works. All right. Is there a cable? Is there?
Wireless thing with a cable on.
All right. Oh, there you go. That's different, isn't it? Yeah.
How cute is that?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy that?
That was turned out, yeah. All right, good morning and welcome, and thank you very much for coming along. Congratulations, Steve, on putting together an event such as this. Fantastic to hear that it's the first one in the Illawarra. Congratulations, Steve, well done. Now, I can understand at the beginning of a session such as this that you may be thinking a number of different things to yourself. For example, some of you might be sitting there thinking to yourself something along the lines of, oh yeah, recruitment skills, yeah, okay, very good, nice, Rod, thank you very much. But really, I'm here for the other stuff, you know, the increased sales stuff. You know, that's what I'm after. I'm after the how we can sell more, how I can get more money, how I can add it to my bottom line. That's really why I'm here. So thanks very much, lovely. But if you don't mind, I'll just tune out and wait until the other guy comes. Some of you might be thinking that. Some of you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, yeah, well, really, it's not rocket science, Rod. You know, recruiting, they can either do the job or they can't, you know. If they can do the job, fine, they continue to get paid. If they can't, then it's on your bike, all right? And we're going to spend how long talking about this? You got to be kidding. Some of you might be thinking that. Some of you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, actually, Rod, I've been around, all right? Worked for a number of different organisations in a number of different capacities, you know, hired the odd person in my past. So what could we possibly talk about this morning that I don't already know? Some of you might be thinking that. No matter what you're thinking or feeling at this particular point in time, a couple of things are for sure. We have an excellent opportunity this morning to do a number of things. Firstly, to look at what it is we can do to reduce the stress and frustration that can be associated with finding people who, at best, sometimes seem to have a different agenda to yours when they're in the interview or when you're trying to find them, or at worst, seem to be out and out trying to sabotage the whole process. All right. Be that the sort of person that has the polished interview technique, how to get beyond the polished interview technique. The person who's obviously been to 900 interviews and they know exactly what to say and how to answer each question. And so it's easy to get drawn in and go, wow, we've got a real gem here, fantastic, hire this person. But we could be hiring them for the wrong reasons. We could be hiring them because they're damn good at interviews. But that's not the job that we need them to do. So how to get beyond the polished interview technique, firstly. We also have an excellent opportunity to look at the opposite in some respects, how to dig a little bit deeper with those people who just sort of, have the one-word answers, like teenage males. Where were you last night? Out. Who with? Friends. What time did you get home? Late. I've given you the answer. What's your problem? All right. How to get beyond that sort of problem as well. And we also have an excellent opportunity to look at what it is we can do to reduce the costs associated with having the wrong person in the wrong job. Now, just do a little bit of a mental calculation for me, because there's people who have thought about this, and if you think about the costs of having the wrong person in the wrong job, there's direct costs and there's indirect costs, okay? So the direct costs are the ones you're going to receive an invoice for. They're easy to see. They're the ones that, like, the recruitment consultant, if you use them. Advertising fees. You're going to receive an invoice for this. The indirect costs, they're a little bit more insidious. You don't see them, but they mount up really quick. All right? So they're things like the cost of your time that you need to spend in order to put together the advertisement, in order to sit through the interviews. The opportunity cost of you not doing your job while you're doing all this other stuff. Costs associated with the work that the role that's empty, that work's not getting done. Costs associated with that. There's also costs associated with the person who left the previous role. I wouldn't mind $1 for every time I've heard someone tell me a story about how someone had already mentally left the business, even though they're still physically there and picking up a paycheck. But what's happening is they're actually causing damage to the profile of the business because they don't care anymore. They don't contribute. And I've heard many stories of people who have lost customers and contracts because of this sort of situation. So you think about all of those costs, and there are people who sort of, do this for a living. They tally up how do you build a calculation around these costs. And the experts will try and tell you that the costs associated with trying to replace someone is anywhere between 1.5 and 7 times the person's salary. Okay? So let's just do a little mental calculation. Those of you who have got a business, or those of you who are in a startup who think of the previous business perhaps, and just think about how many people left that business in a year's time, a 12-month period. Just see if you can remember number of people that left. All right, now think about the average salary of those positions, average annual salary. Now, what we'll do is we'll be a bit conservative, okay, because they normally say that you should take the whole 12 months, because what happens is, the person stops working or slows down or starts causing problems. It takes a while for them to actually either find their new job or for us to sack them or ask them to move on. So that's a few months. Then we've got the few months when we're trying to find the new person. And then when they come on board, there's also a few months there trying to get them up to speed so that they contribute more than they cost. So we could take 12 months if we wanted to, but let's be conservative. Let's say 6 months. So number of people, average salary, halve the average salary. Just let's be conservative, halve the average salary. Times that by the number of people who left. Times that by 2.5. Let's again be conservative. We won't go up the 7 end of things. We'll times that by 2.5. Now there's a couple of things you can do with this number. Thing A, you could either take it off your costs, or thing B, you could just slap it on your profit. All right, so this is the opportunity for being able to, if this morning, if we could even just give you 10% of that, even 5% of that, I'm sure you'd agree that that would be worthwhile. So excellent opportunity to look at what it is we can do to reduce the costs associated with having the wrong person in the wrong job. Just by way of introducing myself, I left school, I guess like many people leave school, and that is with no clear understanding as to what I was going to do after school. Fortunately, I got enough marks to go to uni. I went to uni for 1 whole year and I failed abysmally. And the reason I failed abysmally is because I found it very difficult to fit any study into the hectic social calendar that one must keep when living on campus. Sound familiar? Okay, so it'd be like 2 nights before an assignment's due, 2 days before an exam, and I'd be thinking to myself, okay, Rod, if you're going to cram a whole term's worth of work, it's now or never. And I'd have all my books stacked up, and I'd have a mug full of coffee, and I would have popped a couple of no-dose pills. And does anyone remember no-dose pills at all? Yes. Yeah. Does anyone still take no-dose pills? Yeah. Have you got any no-dose pills? Evil things they are. Evil. 100 milligrams of caffeine in 1 pill. Has it really? They've now got no-dose plus. I want to know what the plus is. If they just put the cocaine in or something. They're extra. Yeah, cocaine's extra, yes. So no-dose pills, 100 milligrams of caffeine. You pop a couple of those. V drinks were 60 milligrams, I think. V drinks are 60 milligrams. Red Bulls are about 80 milligrams. So 1 no-dose pill was 100 milligrams. Evil. You feel the hairs growing on the back of your neck after you've had a couple of no-dose pills. You're wired, guaranteed. So I'd be just about to put pen to paper. There'd be a knock at the door. Rod, we're going to the pub. What are you doing? Oh, give me a couple of minutes and I'll be with you. All right. There were people at uni who could do both, who were able to kill brain cells on a nightly basis and pass. I wasn't one of them, failed abysmally, went back home, and the idea was to get a job for a year and to earn enough money in that year to put myself through 2nd and 3rd year uni. And I can remember telling this to one of my tutors at the time, that I was going to defer for a year. And when she heard this, she stuck a hand out and she said, "Well, Rod, it was nice knowing you." I said, "Oh, sorry." I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was something as significant as 90-something% of people who defer studies after their first year don't go back. So, yeah, I was in good company, I figured. Didn't go back. I got too used to having money in the wallet. First job was in a bank. All right, and the bank in those days was massive. I think it had about 55,000 employees or something astonishing. And what happened was, this is where I first came into contact with the whole concept of having to select people that you choose to put amongst other people who are already working to a fair degree of competence. All right, and you've got to bring this new person in and you've got to select them somehow. And what used to happen in the bank was, let's say for the sake of argument that I was the manager of one branch, and who have we got? We've got Daniel here as the manager of another branch, all right? And let's say Steve is in my branch, but let's say Steve's coasting a bit. All right, he's a bit slack. Other people are picking up his work, all right? He's costing more than he's contributing. Let's say that's the case. Or sure it wouldn't be, but yeah. Yeah, it's just because I'm really brave behind your back. So what happens is Daniel phones up and he says, Rod, I'm looking for a person to do this type of job, Do you have anyone? And I go, oh, yeah. And I think, oh, good opportunity to get rid of Steve. I got this guy. I got one guy to be able to do that job. Eat it up, he would. But I really don't want to let him go. He's a top unit. Don't want to let him go. All right? And so what would happen is Daniel would say, oh, you've got to send his file over. It's the policy of the bank. You have to send it. I'm allowed to look at his file. All right, I'll send it, but I'm not making any promises. All right? So I send Steve's file over. Now, what's exacerbated this problem is the fact that a lot of the people at my particular branch who Steve reports to are close to gutless. So they haven't addressed the issue. Okay, so what's happened is every time it comes to performance appraisal time, rather than address the issue, they go, "Oh yeah, good stuff, well done, Steve. You know, you're doing a good job. I'll give you above competent, and you can get your bonus." Okay, and so Steve goes, "Thanks. Yeah, I have been working hard. Thank you very much." All right. So when I send the file over to Daniel, he looks at the file and he goes, "This guy's awesome, fantastic. I want Steve." He phones me back. Sorry. Yeah, I can't believe you want to get... Why would you? Oh, for the greater good of the bank, Daniel. For the greater good of the bank, I'll send him over, all right? And this is what would happen. And we used to wonder why the bank was run by Deadwood. This is how it happened. Is because not only would Steve get a move, but often he would get promoted out of it as well. Yeah. It's very frustrating, because then now you've got this person, then 6 months down the track you're going, "What on earth?" All right, and then I get a phone call from Daniel. "You bastard," he says. You know, "I don't know what you're saying, Daniel, don't know what you're talking about. He was fantastic when he was here." Is what often happened. So one of the first lessons I learnt very quickly about recruitment is that what's written on paper gives you an indication of competence only, but it does not tell you what this person is going to be like to work with. It doesn't tell you about their levels of commitment, all right, to the team, to the job, to the organisation. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make, is they recruit for competence over commitment. And all you have to do is look at job advertisements to see this. Must have 5 years experience in same or similar role. Must have studied XYZ at university. Okay, great, you're going to get a smart cookie, but they're going to be bored in 6 months. And dealing with someone who's bored, that's tough. Dealing with someone who's not quite competent yet, that's a bit easier by comparison. Increasing competence, that's not too difficult. Most jobs we can train a monkey to do. Okay? But trying to increase levels of commitment, them's hard yards. Left the bank, went and worked at a wholesaler and manufacturer of home products, white goods, televisions, this sort of thing. And at this particular organisation, they used to have a service centre as well. So this is where you took your TVs and your videos in to get them fixed. And as you walked into the service centre, they had this sign above the door. And the sign read, okay? So what they're saying is, you want us to fix your telly? No worries. If you want it done quickly and you want it done well, then we're going to charge you. And we're going to have to charge you because in order to do things quickly and well, there's a cost. All right? We're going to have to use top quality componentry. We're going to have to get people to come off other jobs and focus on your job. There's a cost, and we shall pass that cost on to you, the consumer. If you want your job done quickly and you want it done cheaply, no worries. You will walk away without our warranty. We are not going to guarantee work when you dictate to us the speed and you haggle on the price. And if you want things done well and cheaply, fine, we'll get round to it when we have time. All right? Now, a lot of research has been done into this, and the suggestion of this research is, and there's many books out there you can use in order to find this research, is that those organisations that do well are those that have found their niche and they have stuck to it. All right? And organisations who use this well do two things with it. First of all, they have an external version and they have an internal version. External version is they communicate it clearly to the marketplace. Where do they sit in the market? All right? So you look at ads on telly, you look at ads in newspapers, ads in magazines, you can see what it is that they're saying. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. All right? So guess what? That will be an arm and a leg. Thank you, sir. All right? Or, if you can find the same item on sale for less elsewhere, we'll match it. In fact, we'll beat it by 10%. All right? So guess what? You don't get quality stuff at Bunnings, with all due respect. You'll find the stuff. It's there. You look at all the stuff they got. So they're bound to have something, and it's cheap. All right? So they communicate very clearly. That's the external version. The internal version is that what organisations need to do is they need to shift their focus from year to year. So what happens is one year they say, okay, this year it's all about speed. We want to be first to market. We want to make sure that we can sharpen things up with the delivery, with cutting corners, being able to speed up the process. So they focus on speed and they build that really fast way of delivering their product, right? Knowing full well that the quality and the cost is going to be affected. That's okay, because next year, what we'll do now is we'll focus on quality. You're right, last year we did cut a few too many corners, so now we've got to work on quality. So focus on quality, knowing full well that, again, cost is going to blow out, but what's also going to happen is speed will drop, but that's okay, because speed is still streets ahead of where it was last year. And then what we'll do is next year, what we'll do now is we've got to focus on costs. Let's say we really did blow out costs. We really need to tighten our belts a little bit, look at what we're spending. So focus on costs, get their profitability back up, knowing full well that these two things are going to drop down. But that's okay, because it's still streets ahead of where it was 2 years ago. And this is what organisations need to do internally. And you can tell the organisations where this hasn't been communicated to team members. Because often the chief executives and the bosses of the organisation know they have to do this, but it doesn't quite get communicated to people on the shop floor. And so what happens is they go, you get this sort of, we tried this 3 years ago and it didn't work then, and it's not going to work now. Honestly, if they could just tell us what to do. They just tell us what to do because it's so confusing with their vision, mission, values, and you get this sort of response. All right? And it's because that hasn't been communicated effectively. Same thing with recruitment. When you go to recruit someone, you have a choice. You can do it quickly. You can get a bum on a seat really quickly. Steve told the story about when he did that. Quality was what was affected. But he got a bum on a seat. And it might have been that at that particular point in time, doubtless if we dug a little bit with Steve's story, we'd find out I've got clients lined up, they're expecting something. I've already said yes, typical entrepreneur thing, isn't it? I've already said yes, hell, how do I do it? All right? So I needed someone there. Do you have a pulse? Congratulations. Sit behind this machine, pump it out, thanks very much. Sorry? The puppet, that's right, yes. Can you move? We've got a puppet here. We've got the... So that may have been what's required. That's okay, as long as you recognise there will be a cost. If you're after a quality person, fantastic. That's awesome. And that's going to take some time. And it may take some cash as well in order to be able to find that quality person. You want to find someone cheaply? Bless you. Yes, you can do that. But guess what? So it's just a matter of being aware of what is your priority. What is your priority? And then once you've made that decision, you need to recruit with that in mind. All right, but what we're going to do is we're going to conduct a series of scientific experiments this morning to find out a little bit more about recruitment. So with this in mind, if I could please ask everyone to stand up and to find someone in the room that you have not yet spoken to this morning. And when you get there, introduce yourself and choose who's going to be A and who's going to be B. All right, so if everyone could please stand up. Find a partner. All right, fantastic. Okay, hands up the A's. Who are the A's? Hands up the A's. Fantastic. If you could please leave the room and wait outside for a moment. And we'll come and grab you in a second. All right. Now, as I said, what we're going to do is conduct a scientific experiment in strict control conditions, as you can tell. What we're going to do is we're going to get you to conduct an interview. You are the interviewer, and out there is your interviewee. Your B is your interviewee. And what I'm going to ask you to do... Oh, you're A. Thank you. You're the Bs. Yes. Stay with the program, Rod. You're the one running the show. What hope have we got? Yeah, Rochelle, so the C's are in here, is that right? Is that... Okay, so out there is your interviewee, you are the interviewer. And basically what I'm going to ask you to do is to make as many mistakes as you possibly can. So the way this works is in a moment, when they come in, what I'm going to ask you to do is to be terribly distracted. So it could be that, sorry, your name is, I can't see your tag, Tom. Tom and I could be having a chat. G'day, Tom, how are you? Good. So I said to him, you just can't do that sort of thing in polite society. And he totally, just over there. Thanks, yep, okay, I'll be with you in a sec. So anyway, he said, I want you to do this. Okay? So I'm talking to Tom, but my interviewee is over there. All right? And just, over there. I want you to be, or you can be talking on your phone. So you can do this sort of thing. So you can come in and you go, no, I want 4 of them. 4 of them. If you can't do 4 before that, then forget it. No, forget it, okay? Look, obviously, I want you to do this sort of thing as well. So all that sort of thing. Then what I want you to do is I want you to get them to sit down and get them to sit in a really uncomfortable position. Like you could, in one place, it'd be here, all right? And we could even turn that projector back on, okay? So it's shining right in their face, okay? And then you can stay standing if you want. You can pace backwards and forwards in front. Let's take it to extremes, have a bit of fun. And what you've got here is you've got a series of questions. And what you'll see is that these questions, while there's about 17 of them. Thank you. And what I want you to do is I want you to try and ask as many of them as you possibly can in the time that you have. Okay? And I want you to actually sit there with, if you're sitting there, I want you to not look at the person. I want you to have a pen and I want you to tick it off as they answer it. What is your current role? Mm-hmm. How long have you been in that role? Mm-hmm. Please make a big thing of the ticks so that they can see that you're just doing that. There's also some illegal questions in there as well. So you get down to about, have you ever been committed of a crime? How old are you? What is your marital status? These sorts of questions. So yeah, do you have kids? Because that's a problem. If you've got kids, we can end this now. Yeah. Okay? So I just want you to do that. At the end of this, I'm going to ask them to please describe what it would be like to work with this organisation. And if you've done this well, brace yourself because the feedback could be full on. Okay? All right, so if you could please set yourself up again, you want them somewhere uncomfortable and then work out, I just need to go out and talk to them and I'll let you know when I'm coming in.
Take a photo of that. This transcends across everything. This is just not recruiting. This is sales. This is everything. This is a conversation you can have with people across landscaping, across lots of different areas. I wrote that down. I've never seen that before. Some of you may have, but it's gold. All right, guys.
So I'd be curious to know, those people who are outside, who came inside, I'd be curious to know, what's it going to be like to work for this organisation? Okay, it may be obvious, but why? If you could just put words around it. What happened that's led you to this conclusion? Yeah, you said it was going to be fantastic. Okay, is that an ironic fantastic there, Terry?
Yeah, you just do whatever you please.
So
priority.
There's no priorities. I get to do what I damn well please. Awesome. Rochelle's too busy with other people. She won't notice as I'm nicking pens from the stationery cupboard. Fantastic. What else? Other thoughts? Disorganised. There's no way that they're going to be able to organise anything.
They party in this place.
Okay. So it could be a good organisation to work for because the Christmas party is going to be awesome.
What if I don't drink? I'm out of it.
Ah, okay. If I don't drink, I'm going to have problems.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Anyone else?
Unless this is a government organisation, they won't have a roof to come.
These guys are not going to be in business for much longer. Oh, you're organised. Okay. Disrespectful. Far too casual. There is no professionalism. Anything else to add over here?
Completely unorganised.
Completely disorganised. Okay.
No, I got adjusted the next one, John.
Did you?
I really worked out really well with him.
In what
I
way?
really didn't want the job. I just wanted to sign up so I get the job.
I've got his signature. Shout me a beer and I'll sign this.
Not even a beer.
Foot massage and I'll sign. Fantastic. All right. So the point of the exercise being, of course, that candidates are going to be hypersensitive. The good candidates are going to be hypersensitive to what it is that it's going to be like to work around here, and they're going to be picking up on lots of little things. The way that they are greeted at reception, even the way the ad looks. Right? The way they're greeted at reception, the way that their phone call is dealt with when they phone through, whether you've read their resume or not, how you first greet them. There's lots of these little tiny things. Every contact that the candidate has with your organisation is an indicator, and they're going to be hypersensitive to what that indicator says. So the good candidates will pick up on it.
I told David I was interviewing him as well.
Because it's a two-way thing, isn't it? It's not just, I have a job, all right, are you good enough for me? All right? It's also, I've got skills, which you need. So it's a two-way transaction. If you could please thank or deck your partners, whichever one is appropriate. And so, lesson number one, in some respects, be very careful about what it is that the candidates see when they first make contact with you. Be very careful about the message, the conscious and unconscious messages that you are sending to this person about what it's going to be like to work with you. Okay, so let's say we've moved on now, we've got them into there, because the good candidates again will pick up on that and they will make a decision as to whether to pursue this or not. If they decide not to pursue it based on some messages that you have sent to them that does not work out for them, then you have lost the best candidates. The candidates that will be left that you will have to choose from are the less good candidates. So already you're culling your own list, but you're losing the best ones. That's the problem. Okay. So now we've got them in the interview. Let's say for the sake of, am I still not on?
Back on, yeah.
Are we on? Oh, there you go. Earth to Rod. Earth to Rod. Come in, Rod. What was that? Sorry,
I
Anne?
said you played with your own butt this time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that, isn't it, Anne? Sometimes. There's no one else there. What we need to be able to do now is we need to be able to get beyond the polished interview technique, and we need something that's going to help us get beyond the lack of polished interview technique as well. And there's a friend of mine who is an absolute expert at this. He's a search consultant, so he does this for a living. And what I want you to do is I just want you to think about, imagine that we were introduced at a party. All right, so sorry, your name is? Tracy. So Tracy and I are introduced at a party, and the person who introduced us walks off, and we're left to our own devices. What happens now?
Ask her out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, out for a coffee. So what happens now? What do we do? In polite conversation, okay? What happens? You introduce yourself?
What do you do?
Yeah, yeah. We ask a series of questions, don't we? We ask each other a series of questions. What is the aim of those questions? They're icebreakers, and what are we trying to do? When does the ice break?
When you find something in common.
Bingo. Rapport.
We got a tick.
A big one there. Go to the... You're out of the remedial class now, Andrew. Rapport
How did you do that?
is all about minimising difference and increasing similarity. Okay, so, sorry, your name again. Tracy. So I go, g'day Tracy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good,
How are you?
good, thanks, good. So, where do you live?
In Victory, just locally.
Oh, okay, right, from Hornsby. Nothing in common there? You're a Barara boy. How are you, Mike? Yeah, good. Yeah, I will, yeah. Oh, that's right. Does this not happen? You're in a group with someone and we go, okay, Victory, right, I don't even know where that is. Hornsby, is that legal? That's not legal. Is that... Okay, Barara, oh mate, how are you? It's like old home week all of a sudden. All right, so Victory, okay, do you play a sport at all?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. How about you?
Okay, yeah, I play a bit of soccer.
Soccer. Yeah.
Okay, now it's getting to the stage where if we don't find a match at some stage soon, it's going to be, Tracy's going to be saying, well, it was lovely to meet you, Rod, but gosh, is that the date? Sort of thing. And she's going to find someone else to talk to. So I need to make a hit. So it's, where do you work?
I work in insurance.
Oh, okay. In which insurance company?
In NRMA.
Oh, okay. Do you know, I've done a bit of work with NRMA. Yeah, do you know, and as soon as we find something in common, what happens to the whole conversation? It takes off. This changes, this changes, this changes. And then on top of that, as we're driving home, and my wife Margaret says to me, I saw you talking to Tracy, what's she like?
Oh, she's lovely.
She's gorgeous. Yeah, do you know she works for NRMA? Yeah, and she also knows she does. Yeah, we should have her over for dinner. We should. All right? Because we found something in common, I am far more likely to give a favourable impression. But if we can't find anything in common, don't play a sport, you live in the Wollongong, Illawarra area, Victory, a place called Victory, yeah. What was it like talking to Tracy? All right? I'm less likely to give a positive overview, all right, or a positive, what's the word I'm struggling for? Feedback, positive impression, that'll do, fantastic. I'm less likely to do that. Rapport is all about minimising difference and increasing similarity. How do you get beyond the polished interview technique? You find something in common and you start by talking about that. And that will open the other person up and they will feel more comfortable. When they open up and they feel more comfortable, they are more likely to reveal who they really are. They're more likely to show you what is beyond the polished interview technique. All right? Now, how do we do this? Well, there's a particular skill to keep an eye out for. Some people have, or we all do, unless you are disabled in some way. We all have a preference to match. We all have an ability, to match, and we all have an ability to mismatch, and you will have a preference. So, for example, if we were back at the barbecue and I said something like books to films, let's say for the sake of argument I said, I was really impressed with how they turned Lord of the Rings into a film. Difficult book, a lot of people know it, and yet they did such a good job. Let's say I said that, personal opinion, all right? Someone who has a preference to match will look for, find, and want to talk about what they can agree with in that statement. So they'll say something like, yeah, I thought so too, because I thought, when you saw The Shire, I just thought, get out of my head, that's exactly how I pictured it. Unbelievable. And Rivendell, unbelievable. All right? Someone who has a preference to mismatch, what they will do is they will look for, find, and want to talk about what they disagree with in that statement. So they'll say something like, I was a bit disappointed they left out the character of Tom Bombadil. You might remember in the book, Tom Bombadil was an important character. The ring had no effect on him. He was a boundary rider. Lots of stories there, but they totally left him out. Very disappointed. All right? So when we are doing an interview, we need to focus very much on this. All right? How can we reduce difference and increase similarities by looking for where we can match? Now, some people are taught, university sort of plays with this in some respects, and careers play with this. For example, with all due respect, engineers, doctors, lawyers, they are taught to mismatch. And it's just as bloody well, because if they didn't, people would die. If they didn't look for the error, this building would not have structural integrity. So it would collapse. So thank goodness they do. Unfortunately, unless they learn to switch it off, they can become socially difficult. Okay? Right, okay. Academics. Academics are another group of people, definitely, who are taught to mismatch and taught to look for the error. Yeah. So when we're interviewing, this is the key skill you want, is to be able to look for how you can match. Now, this doesn't just happen verbally. This also happens physically as well. For example, pardon me, and I'm going to make some gross generalisations here. Please excuse me, I'm just trying to illustrate a point. Okay? No, thank you, I'm all right, thank you. Describe to me your average person from the country.
Quick-witted. G'day. How you going?
Yeah. So, sentences of 7 words or less.
One syllable.
Yeah.
Slow.
Economic, as opposed to slow. Big personal space. So they go, g'day, how you going? And then they talk to you from back over here. All right? Describe to me your average person from the city, particularly Sydney. Yeah, always on the move, always on the go. Something's always happening here, something's always happening here. There's no full stops in the sentence, there's just commas, they just keep talking. What does this person tend to think of that person? Hello, is there anyone home? The lights are on. What does this person tend to think of that person?
They're not my world.
Take the red ones in the morning, mate. Now, it's not necessarily that these people are never going to be able to get on. What's happening here is that there are some obvious differences that is going to make it difficult to build rapport. So when you are interviewing someone, if you want to get beyond the polished interview technique, if you want to open them up a little bit more so that you increase the likelihood that you find out who they truly are and what it's going to be like to work with them in 6 to 12 months' time, you need to be a little bit more like them. You need to match physically as well as verbally. You need to match the level of energy. So if your preference is for this sort of thing, okay, then you need to tone it down a little bit when you meet this person. If your preference is more down this end of things, and you've met someone who's, then you're going to need to amp it up a little bit. And the classic example of this, just to finish off, is people and their pets. Have you ever noticed this? Talk about rapport, people and their pets, how they're similar. So you see a bulldog, a pit bull terrier walking down the road, and what's behind it? All right, tattoos, piercings, all right, the whole tragedy. Or you see a poodle that's been shaved within an inch of its life walking down the road, and what's behind it? Yes. Oh, is that right? Lovely. Or do you remember Burke's Backyard? Burke's Backyard, I think they used to cotton on to this because what they used to do, they had the pet of the week. Remember they used to road test the pet of the week? And so as you went to the ad break, what they do is they show a picture of the pet and they'd show a picture of the owner. And you'd go, oh my goodness, but there was one night, my wife and I were in stitches. What happened was, the pet of the week was a Chinese bantam chicken. Okay, so this is a chicken with a really fluffy plumage, all right, gorgeous looking thing. Okay, and the guy who owns these Chinese bantams, first of all, his hips were in the right place and his ankles were together, but his knees refused to cooperate. Whole vistas could be seen, all right? And then on top of that, as he was talking, his neck would just move. He wouldn't actually just, oh yeah, Don, because it's really good. We were in stitches. So, say again.
I thought that you did that really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I own several chickens, including a Chinese bantam. So a couple of things from this morning. First of all, be very conscious of the message that you send your best candidates from the moment they first contact your company, because they're going to be working you out as well. Secondly, in the interview, in order to get beyond the polished interview technique, in order to open people up and get more out of them, increase the likelihood you find out what they're going to be like to work with, match. Reduce difference, increase similarity, find out something you have in common, and change your own preference for energy levels to match theirs. But let's take a break for more.
Yes, I'm going to match your energy levels. Which one?
Yeah, from over here.
Yeah, that's weird. I watched it. I thought, shit, how am I going to do that? Awesome, guys. Put your hands together for Rod Mathews. Righto, cool. Come and join me, Rod.
Oh, we got
On the stools. Cool. So what we're going to do after every speaker is we're going to come and have a bit of a chat. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Cool. What we want to do with you guys is calibrate and say, right, this is the perfect time for any questions. So if you got something, what did you guys think of that? 45 minutes of Rod Mathews, was it good? Yeah. How good was it? I thought he did a wonderful job. So what I'd like from you guys, at least a couple of people from each table, just tell me, what were the takeaways? What was, out of that 45 minutes, something that you got a little bit more clarity on? Or something that you felt sort of touched you a little bit more and you got some, maybe just increased your awareness a little bit more? So is there any questions out there or any takeaways that you guys have? What about from here? Yeah, beautiful.
I guess as a business, we always look at the customer and their points of contact and making sure that that's correct, and never thought of it in a recruitment sense. So definitely going to use that.
Beautiful.
Great point. Yep, you're quite correct. Spend a lot of time and money getting it right for the customer, and we forget about our team members sometimes. Yep.
Yeah, because they're obviously an extension of ourselves, aren't they?
Definitely.
We can't be everything to everyone.
What is it? Attitude is contagious. Is yours worth catching? That old cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
Is yours worth catching?
Cliches are good, aren't they?
They're cliches because they said a lot, because they're true.
They're true, and they hang around. It's so true, so true. So anybody else, any takeaways that you guys got that sort of, anything that really resonated with you guys? What about the Smithies table over there? Oh, here we go.
I had an idea of just to tell my teenage children that's really, really important to put their interest in so that they can have that rapport. They think, well, it doesn't matter if you're going for a job, then they only want to know about your business things. But when you think about it, they really need to know that you've been playing basketball for the last 10 years. Instantly, they've got something.
Excellent point. So if you are going for a job, or you know someone who is going for a job, quite correct, special interests at the end. It may feel dicky to put it on there, but it gives the interviewer an opportunity to be able to build rapport with you.
So, Chris, that's for you, mate. Where are you?
Yeah.
The it there.
Awesome, yeah. Lee.
On the report building, I mean, your generations are spreading out a lot further, and X, Y, Z, Z plus 3 or whatever it is. Those initial questions you're throwing, I would think they're starting to get far more difficult to get commonality. You start talking about soccer and someone says, well, is that on the Nintendo? Or, you don't, it's a different sort of... So your questions that you'd be throwing out there, just in general life, really, have to be far broader.
Thank you. Excellent point. When we come back from morning tea, we're going to look at questions, and the place to start off is with open questions. And generally speaking, go as general as you possibly can. Family, spare time, hobbies, interests, previous work. So these sorts of areas are places to
I
start.
guess that negative one, the mismatch, start throwing, you've got to be very careful, political, state of play, all those sorts of things that could probably get you in a fair bit of trouble.
Right, so we need to be careful, quite correct, with where we head. So those areas are pretty safe. Family, hobbies, interests, previous work, that sort of stuff's pretty safe. You're quite correct. Let's avoid the sex, politics, religion, okay, because you're right. Also, the key thing to remember there is that our aim is not to offer our opinion. Our aim is to find out who they are and to look for where we can match.
And this is if the intention's there to do that. I guess what you're talking about now is raising everybody in the room's awareness of rapport. There's not a lot of people out there that have got an awareness of wanting to build rapport. They may be having a conversation. They couldn't care less if they build rapport with you.
But people are unconscious of it. You watch what happens when we go out there for morning tea. You watch as people are standing with each other, all right? You check out what's doing with the body language. All right, people stand there with, obviously the cups help because everyone's got a cup perhaps, but one person takes a sip in a lull in conversation. Everyone else takes a sip in a lull in the conversation. People shift from one foot to another. The other person shifts from one foot to another. We've even done activities, we don't have time this morning, but when we do this and dig a little bit deeper, we do activities where we get people, one person does this, and it could take as long as 30 seconds, but about 30 seconds later, something on the other person's face becomes uncontrollably itchy. All right? And they have to do it.
You know what's a classic one for me? When they wipe their nose.
Yeah.
And you think,
the
are
other
they
person
doing
goes,
it to me?
Oh my God, I've got a booger hanging out my
doing
nose.
And then you do it back and then they think,
Next thing you know, you've got two fingers to the second digit.
Bugger, stop, don't ever do that.
But wouldn't it be, you'd have to treat the future employee as a customer? As a customer, like trying to sell? As a...
So you're trying to sell your organisation?
Yeah, you're selling, the emotion of your business. Because,
Thank you.
as small business people, especially in that, they're very emotional about their business. Look at our friend over here, Stephen. And trying to sell that to someone else is not easy.
And a word of warning with that too, it's very easy to oversell or undersell. Worked with a number of businesses where the main problem was they used to oversell the business. Oh, it's a fantastic place to work. Oh, you'll love it here. It's awesome. We've got a fantastic group of people. They do wonderful work. We do wonderful things with it. And they keep going on like this. And then when people join, they feel as though they've been sold a pup.
So they work against you even more.
And now you've got, it's even quicker for them to work out. So can I just quickly do something on that?
Go for it.
Okay. So when you're deciding who you're trying to pick, in fact, even before that, when you're trying to determine what your key, selection criteria is going to be, what it is you're looking for in this particular person, the mistake that a lot of people make is, first of all, they think about the current position. All right? So they think about, okay, what does this person currently do? The person who was in it who left just recently, what did they used to do? And they define the key selection criteria based on current parameters. So what happens there is often we undersell the position. Easy trap to fall into. The opposite sometimes happens where people think about where they want to be in 5 years' time, and often entrepreneurs tend to have very much a future focus. They're constantly thinking about where they need to be tomorrow, next week, 6 months' time. Their brain is in the future. Now, there's benefits and drawbacks to that. Okay? The drawback is that then if you communicate that to this person who's sitting opposite you, then you're selling this and you're not there yet. And so they're going to feel a bit ripped off, because that's not what you told me. And so they're more likely to leave or be not committed a lot quicker. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to recruit the person who's going to help you do that. That's where you want to get your key selection criteria from. As we move from there to there, what do I need in that person so that we don't oversell and undersell?
Yeah, is that valuable,
What's the
Dan?
biggest tip to try and engage people like doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants?
The mismatches, fantastic. So if you're stuck with a doctor, a lawyer, we shouldn't pick on them, should we? If you're stuck with a mismatcher, there's a couple of things. First of all, one way is to avoid stating your opinion. Remember, the aim is in an interview. The aim is in an interview is to find out about them. Okay, yeah, we're asking for their opinion. And then when they give their opinion, we're looking for what we can agree with in that. Okay, so that's the first tip, particularly if we're in an interview. If we're working with this person a few years down the track, and now they're actually working for us and they're still a mismatcher, kids are great mismatchers. They get to a certain age, great mismatchers. There's a couple of ways of dealing with mismatches, okay? And kids cotton on pretty quick to this trick. But one way is to precede what you want the mismatcher to think with the phrase, "You're probably not going to agree with me when I say." You're probably not going to agree with me when I say that we should do this. Oh, no, I will agree with you. Ah! All right? The other way is, if you can afford to be a bit cheeky with this person, is to label them. You're a mismatcher or a black hatter. Some people know the black hat from De Bono's 6 Hats. You're a black hatter, you're a mismatcher. No, I'm not. There you go again. I did not. You can't help yourself. All right? And once you've labelled the behaviours, it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to actually exhibit it. And then what you start to hear is look, I know you think I'm just a black hatter. Okay. Or what's not black hatter? Mismatcher. What's the other one?
Naysayer.
Naysayer. There's another phrase that tends to hook people in as well. But these sorts of things, okay? Pain in the bottoms, yes.
Awesome. All right, guys, we might...